Okay, so here's the old filter that we just took off. Okay, and what we're going to do is look at the part number, FL820S. Okay, and we're going to take our new filter over here in the box, and we're just going to compare it, because you never know when somebody inside the store has been swapping filters around or doing something. Anyway, so check the part number. The part number isn't always the same if you're using a different brand filter. On this one it's the FL820S, and then I believe the Fram is like a Tough Guard 2. And so, anyway, something you want to do is look at the two of them and make sure that they look pretty much the same. But it's most important here where the seal is. And to check that, you can turn them upside down and just kind of touch them and just make sure that, you know, that they matched up right. Some filters are wider than others, and so it doesn't have to exactly look the same, but you just want to make sure that the gasket area is the same, that the thread's the same, which should be if it's the right filter. Now, next thing we're going to do is just kind of oil that up. I just dipped my finger in some new motor oil, just kind of make sure my finger's clean too, and just rub it here on this rim. This kind of lubricates this seal so that it's not dry. This helps it seal up a little bit better. So, you know, not too much oil, just make sure that it's on there. A lot of people say to use the old motor oil, maybe just because it's warm, I don't know why, but I wouldn't want to have like dirt or debris on there, so I just like to use the new motor oil and just make sure that it's nice and ready to go. At this point, some people will even fill the oil filter with oil, and then you can put it on the car, and then the car doesn't dry start as bad when you first do it. And so something I'll show you a little later though is if you really want to, you can push your foot down on the accelerator when you're starting the car, and that'll keep the car from starting, but it'll help prime the engine with oil. That's just another thing you can do if you want. And on this oil filter housing, okay, I'm taking a new shop rag and just cleaning up kind of around the area, making sure that it's nice and smooth and clean. Okay, there's already oil that's on our new filter, you know, gasket, so it's not like getting all the oil off this is going to do anything, because we're just going to do that again. But we're basically just making sure that it's clean and nice. Okay, then we're going to snake the new filter up in here. Okay, and center it onto the post. Okay, and I like to get it started nice and easy. Fill it. Okay. And you'll know that it's pretty much good if you kind of go to spin it and it's on, you know. Okay, that's kind of a good way to tell that you're not cross-threading it. Okay, now put this on finger tight or hand tight. Okay, screw it on until it's good and solid. Make sure your oil or your hands don't have oil on them. Don't over tighten it. I've done that before when I had my V6 Mustang back in the day, and it sprayed oil everywhere. So just make sure that it's hand tight, kind of the best you can. You'll know when it's good and snug, and then just, you know, make sure that it's firmly on there, but don't put on a wrench or anything and tighten it too bad. Okay, something that I like to do is just kind of take a Sharpie and write on the end of the filter the date that I changed the oil. And, you know, you can keep a little sticker in your window too, which is most important so you see it, but this is just in case you lose track or you didn't write it down. Yeah, so now I'm just going to go back to the oil pan, take off the drain plug one more time and see if any more oil comes out now that, you know, we're taking the filter off. And see that? Yeah, some of it's going to come out. See, so you kind of get a significant amount back out. Anyway, I'm just going to let that drain again for a while. This is kind of why I like doing my own oil changes. I just kind of like to take more time on it than they have at a shop. I like to make sure everything's done the way I like it done. Okay, so while that continues to drain, now we're just going to clean up the oil mess that the filter made. You know, it's just going to kind of leak down onto your steering rack and K-member. There's nothing much you can do about it. So now's a good time to inspect the drain plug. Just make sure that it's not bent all out of shape. And I'm gonna actually run a nice little clean shop rag right here, just kind of around it, just kind of get off any debris that may have gotten onto it. But and come over to the oil pan and just kind of make sure that that surface is clean as well. And we're not really dripping out too much oil anymore. I think we're pretty much done. So I'm just gonna, you know, by hand, without any kind of attachment or anything on here, I'm gonna feel it and make sure that it goes on perfectly nice and smooth. Okay, now if you really want to, right when it gets kind of to the very end there, you can get the rag up in here again and just kind of get any oil in between it that you want to get out of. Okay, so I'm just gonna get this nice and snug. Okay, there's a kind of a crush. It's kind of a crush nut, so you just want it snug. Make sure that it, you know, you'll know when it's kind of getting tight, but do not over tighten it and don't leave it loose. But you know, as soon as it kind of snugs up with some good force, then you're pretty much good there. Okay, everything is out from underneath the car. Make sure you don't have a wrench or anything under there still, and then just lift the car back with the jack, remove the jack stand, and lower the car down before we fill the oil. Okay, so now we're going to lower the car down so that it's level when we fill it with oil. Okay, so just going to make sure that our jack is centered on that beam. Okay, so now once we've cleared this, we're going to move this jack stand out. I'm going to take one good look underneath the whole car, make sure that we didn't leave anything under the tires. Make sure the parking brake is set. Put it in gear, just make sure it won't roll away when you let it down. And then just slowly let it down. Okay, now, notice now how the jack is still touching the car. This is where some people will just yank the jack out and they'll catch, you know, the fuel lines or the brake lines, whatever's going through there. So make sure that the jack goes all the way down. Be patient because you can't really see it unless you're down eye level. And then make sure you pull it out slowly. Okay, now I have two different funnels. One of them I use to fill with fresh oil, and the other one that I'll use to put the used oil back into a container. But what I like to do is get a fresh shop towel, just kind of run it down in here. Just make sure that, you know, what's going into your engine is absolutely clean. Now on this Cobra, it's going to take 6 quarts of oil. Okay, I like Mobil 1 full synthetic, so that's what I'm using. Okay, so we're just going to come in here and take the cap off and just fill them up. Okay, so now just add all 6 quarts of oil. For the dual overhead cam engines, at least, they take 6 quarts. Refer to your owner's manual for your specific application. Just very slowly add in the oil. And what I like to do is get most of the oil out here, and kind of to save time when it seems like it's about done, I'll just kind of stop and move on to the next quart. And then I usually buy 1 extra quart that I don't need, and we'll just put a little extra in, kind of look down in the rest of the containers and see how much is kind of missing. Okay, so now we're going to take our funnel, and what I like to do is put it into one of these old jugs here, and then if you want to, you can put the rest of whatever was left in each of these down in there if you really like to save oil. But just make sure that the cap goes back on until it clicks, and then start it up. Okay, now if you're in a garage, make sure that you vent it. Okay, and then just start the car. Let it run for about 30 seconds and just get under here and make sure it's not dripping anywhere. Look up onto the filter, look at the drain plug, okay? now we're just going to check the engine oil, pull it out, clean it off, nice new rag. Okay, so you can see where it's moist, it's halfway up the thing, so we're good on our level. But it's really important to drive it around the block and, you know, then check it again, just to make sure that it's where it should be. Okay, make sure that your dipstick is in good and snug. My buddy's Firebird, it's a little different design, and we put it down on but didn't click it in the spot, and it sprayed oil all over the place. So on this one it's really not that bad, but just make sure that it's down. Okay, something else that's worth mentioning, I was using this light and it gets really hot, so just make sure that you unplug it and set it aside, and make sure you don't drop oil on it and, you know, blow yourself up. So, but now we're ready to go, and we're going to drive around the block and then check the oil level again and make sure everything's good. Now, if you want to, if you didn't put oil inside the filter before you put it on the car, you can put your foot on the gas pedal and go to start it, and it'll crank and not start, and that way it'll fill oil up into the engine.